Welcome to the TriMetric Roadmap, powered by Business Freedom Advisors, the podcast for business owners who want to grow their business and enjoy their life. Hey, I'm your host, Scott Landis, creator of the TriMetric tracking system and author of Balancing Act. If you're tired of chasing success at the expense of your health, your marriage, or your peace of mind, you're in the right place. On this show, we help you track what really matters: business health, life quality, and leadership performance, all in one simple, powerful system. Because when those get out of sync, everything else starts to break down. Our goal here is to help you align it all so you can lead with clarity, scale with purpose, and finally enjoy the freedom you've been working so hard to create. And if it feels like no one's ever shown you how to pull that off, this podcast might just be the missing link you've been quietly searching for. Now, let's dive into today's episode. And we're back with the TriMetric Roadmap Podcast, brought to you by Business Freedom Advisors. I am Scott Landis. I'm here with Jeff Jacob, and we have been talking for a while about part of our TriMetric process, the executive performance piece. The other parts of TriMetric are business health and life quality, but we have been on this series for a while about executive performance. We had a whole series about the 7 parts of executive performance, and now we're talking about our executive performance process that helps founders get unstuck and not be the bottleneck and eventually become a business owner with as a founder with freedom. And specifically, today's topic is kind of built on the roles that help a founder build a business. And it's usually not the same role required to scale it. So, whatever greatness you employ to get to where you are today is not necessarily what's going to help you get to the next stage. But many founders stay stuck playing yesterday's role in today's company. And that's where bottlenecks and overload and dependencies on you start to build. So this episode today, Jeff, we're going to break down the founder leadership spectrum and how founders grow from operator to true strategic leader. And the founder leadership spectrum is just a visual aid that we give to founders to help them see where they are and maybe where they want to go. We're going to break that down today, Jeff. So by our definition, Business Freedom Advisors, what is the founder leadership spectrum?
It really is how you define yourself, your role as the founder, in a way that equips you and helps you bring definition to what you're bringing to the organization in a way that is leading towards that true freedom that you were talking about, and being able to really be a visionary again. So many founders are stuck in the very beginning, or stuck in getting back into just working on it and just grinding something out and just feeling stuck. And so you do start as an operator in most organizations where you're the one doing the work. And then strategically, you move more towards a coordinator where you organize the work between other people getting it done while you're still getting a lot done yourself and doing the work. And there's work in all of this, of course. We're talking about doing the final kind of step work of what your organization produces for clients, or, whatever it is for you. And then after operator coordinator, it moves to more of a facilitator, where instead of just organizing the work, you're really enabling leaders to execute. And then you move more towards the conductor, where you orchestrate the organization, which is subtly but different than the facilitator and the coordinator. And then really moving towards that investor. That's where you become more of the strategic partner with freedom in there, and you allocate capital and opportunity, and but you're very much more hands off on the result of the work getting done. That's the spectrum and just like everything else, we're all on the spectrum at one level or another.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. And if you're listening, basically, I want to challenge you to do a couple things during today's episode as you're listening in or watching us, depending on where you're catching us here. where are you on the spectrum? As Jeff just said, we're all somewhere on the spectrum. If you're a founder, this is the founder leadership spectrum. And there's essentially 5 stages. And I think one thing that we kind of pride ourselves on here when our work at Business Freedom Advisors, Jeff, is we play around in the private equity space and the mergers and acquisition space. So a lot of the times, the founders that we're working with, they're not necessarily even thinking about, selling their business or even acquiring another business or expanding into complementary services that could really grow. And so we're bringing some of those challenging ideas to them, or we're getting them to expand their thinking. And that's the last of the 5 stages. So I want to break them down again, but that investor stage is not even really part of the business life cycle. That's you graduating. That's kind of like I always think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We want to transcend the needs, right? If we can be transcendent above needs, then we are, a lot of benefits from that. But one of them is just you're not offendable, right? Nobody can take something away from you if you don't need it. And that's kind of what that investor level of the spectrum is. You're now kind of you're just playing a different level, a different game. Your business isn't just your business anymore, or a job that you used to have, or a business that you run and direct as a conductor. It's something you own on your balance sheet, along with another business and another business and a real estate investment, and whatever is on your portfolio. You might have private jets. Just start to think bigger. That's where we're headed with the spectrum. That's the end of the road. That's the investor role, and then that first role, we all start as operators. The plumber is great at plumbing, but not necessarily great at owning a business. The landscape guy is great at landscape, but not necessarily great at owning a business. Even a CPA or accountant, who starts a CPA company or firm, even a CPA who we all think should be the best business owner, even they are good at being a CPA, but not necessarily being business owner. So the founder leadership spectrum is helping you go from stage to stage, or what we want you to think about is role to role. Because we always talk about tactics and strategies, which are all important, and tools and systems and processes. And this is today just kind of thinking about a higher level. What is the role you're playing? So you're either on one side of the spectrum, a brand new, you're really good at an operation, whether it's plumbing or CPA work or whatever it is that you do, you're an operator, not necessarily a business owner. A lot of times we call that you're just entrepreneur. You're in a startup, you're doing what you're good at, and you're an operator. And eventually you can work all the way to an investor, where you're now playing a totally different game. And in between is total of 5. So we go operator, coordinator, facilitator, conductor, and investor, Jeff.
Right. And it has to be built too. You can't just jump to as a founder, you can't just jump multiple stages. It has to be built. And it can be built quickly with the right partners and the right system. And what we're really talking about is a leadership, a people management system here. And BFA has some systems that we use for this aspect to build it. But when we're looking, you had a great point that when we're looking at the mergers and acquisitions aspect and we're evaluating a company, one of the key things we look at is how reliant is this company on the work that the owner does. And when the owner leaves, what is going to have to be replaced here? And that's what we're talking about, is where they are on this leadership spectrum. And the further they are over to the right, more towards the investor stage, the founder with freedom, then the more attractive it is for us to want to purchase it. If they're on that left side where everything is reliant on them, it's a deal breaker for us. No thanks. it's going to be way too much work to replace that, and the whole company could fall apart depending on on that reliance as well. And so it's just way too risky to remove that person. So
Yeah.
and with our clients, what we do is help them move across that stage for one of two reasons. You can decide, do you want to just have a better life? We have a client who got an offer for his company it was three or four times originally what he got. And he said, why would I do that? I'm working less than I've ever worked. I'm making more money than I've ever made. I'm enjoying my life. Why would I do that? And so it helped him moving to the right on the spectrum. But then also, there's people who want to maximize it for exit, so they can sell it and get a much higher multiplier, higher EBITDA percentage, all that, to just cash out at a better place. So if it's really helpful for everybody, but it has to be built through a system.
I love that. Yeah, you got me thinking. It's a good way to help our listener like identify where they're at, because you kind of have to know. I mean, we are always, that's one of the other things we do all the time, is we are diagnostic forward. We have to know exactly where things
Mhm.
stand. What's the truth and reality of where things are? How, I know it hurts, but why does it hurt? Let's find out what is missing, not working, or broken, so that we can fix and move to the next level. So with this founder leadership spectrum, I want to help you, listener, understand where you're at now, and then you can start to look at, okay, now I know where I'm at. Now I can see clearly where I need to go, and then it's just a question of how do I move through one stage to the next. So if we go backwards, I think, which is what you were starting to do there, Jeff, I think it's very helpful, because we usually go from left to right. Let's go right to left. So starting, I kind of really fleshed out the investor stage. That's just that you're playing a different game. Your business is just an asset on your balance sheet, a portfolio, if you will, of investments in your business that you started way back when as an operator. Now is just a one of the cards in your hand, as far as playing a big deck, playing a good game of cards. Then that conductor. So when you were starting to go there with Jeff, how anybody who's looking to buy a business, typically they're looking for a business that has a conductor. So again, it's operator, and we'll put this in the show notes if we can. We'll try to put it on the screen if you're watching, or you can just give us a call. We'll get it to you. But the 5 stages: operator, coordinator, facilitator, conductor, investor. So we're going to go from right to left. So covered investor, the conductor. If you're looking for a business that you can buy that would be really profitable, like let's say you're in the game of buying businesses to acquire something that is just on your balance sheet, part of your portfolio. You want a business that has a conductor in place. And so that means when a business has a conductor, that means that, kind of like the visual of a conductor in front of a symphony orchestra, they are not playing any of the instruments. They're just sitting up there keeping time. And then if they need to, they're like directing a little traffic. But really, that thing goes and makes beautiful music, whether the conductor is there or not. I mean, I don't really understand what it is to be a conductor. Those guys get paid, some of them, a lot of money for standing up there and tapping that little thing. I don't get it, but apparently they're very important to that role. But you, as a business owner, as a conductor, you have a business that can run without you. That's the big point. And as easy as it is for you to run that business as a conductor, it's very attractive to a potential buyer. So that's what you were talking about earlier, Jeff, right?
Right. If you're operator or even coordinator, it's going to be, if somebody's buying a job, is what they're buying. They're not really buying a business. They're buying a job, and that's not attractive to many people. Um, we, in fact, we have one person that we were talking to that was wanting our services, but it just didn't work out because we couldn't. I mean, they had purchased a company that they were just underwater in, and there was no way out for them. And because they had made such poor decisions going into it. and it just didn't make any sense. And they had even gotten stuck. The reason that it didn't work for us to work with them, why we didn't take it on, was they weren't in the right industry. It just didn't make any sense. And so, but the point is that they had bought a job and then had gotten stuck. That's not a
Mm.
wise move. If you're in the facilitator, conductor, investor stage, that's the attractive part, because you have a team around you and you have systems in place that can be reproduced. And what you really want to be doing, what the conductor's doing and why they do get paid so much, is because they are the ones who really are keeping the heartbeat of the organization. They're just making sure that is true, and whatever that heartbeat is for you, and it's again different for every industry, every organization. But what that heartbeat is, you just make sure that heartbeat stays true to this organization, and then everything else gets fed from that. What's really at the heart of it.
I love that. Yeah, so an operator, if you're an operator, you don't have a business. You just have a job, just to highlight
Right.
that. Every one of us, if we started from bootstrap, we started with, I'm really good at this particular skill. I'm going to start, air quotes, a business, right? But it's not really a business, because if a real business by definition is something that could run without you. So really, you don't have a real buttoned up business until you're at the conductor stage. But there's three phases in between. There's two between operator and conductor. Those are coordinator and facilitator. So in order to go from operator, where you just are really good at a skill and you do it and you get paid directly from consumer to do the skill.
Mhm.
But if you're out of there, if you remove yourself from that, there is no business, right? You are the business as an operator. So then there's coordinator and facilitator between operator and conductor. So again, a conductor, I love how you said that. You're just keeping the heartbeat, just like the conductor of an orchestra. You're watching it. You're making sure that that baby keeps humming. Um, we've got coordinator and facilitator in between operator and conductor. So coordinator and facilitator. Those sound similar, but there's a one distinction that's really different. So if you think about it as a coordinator, you are still, it's better than an operator. It means you have a team. It means you have some systems. You have some partial stuff going on. You kind of have a house of cards. That relates to a lot of people. It feels like I'm building a house of cards that could fall over at any moment. You're kind of in that coordinator role, and you're still having to hold the whole thing together. You might have some team members, but you're coordinating all of the traffic, versus a facilitator who starts to get what Gino Wickman calls delegate and elevate. We have a client in this stage that, they have an operations person and a good team that's doing a lot of it themselves. They're in between. They're not quite a conductor yet. They still are essential for that business, but they have a team that's facilitating the work. So, you want to say anything else about the difference between coordinator and facilitator, Jeff?
Coordinate The difference between coordinator, or the step between coordinator and facilitator, it's really, what really starts to happen there is the team around you becomes, or is, more high quality people. And it can be the same people, but they are now elevated to a place of being able to really partner with you. And that's where you get true partners, not just employees, but partners. There's more people around the conference room table that are really working together to um, figure out this organization. It's a true partnership is what happens between coordinator and facilitator. And what you move from is, instead of organizing the work, you're really enabling and building up people. And that's a very different skill set, but which is why it needs to be built. You have to have the right people in place before you can really be investing in them and trusting them at that level of partnership. And so, and again, it comes down to systems. Everything's a system. It's just some systems aren't defined. But this system of being able to make sure you are, instead of organizing the work, you are enabling people to execute. That, that's a system.
Mm-hmm. I love how you said that. Here, let me give you another way to assess where you're at. If you're an operator and you take a day off, you make zero money, right? Again, if you're an operator, you are the business. A coordinator, now don't kid yourself. A lot of coordinators say, "Oh yeah, I've got some teams and I got some systems and I've got some things rolling. I'm not doing all the work myself. I got a business." Well, don't kid yourself. Coordinator, if you feel like you can take a month off, then you might be a facilitator. But if you're saying, if I really took you away from your business for a month today and you don't get to come back till next month, if your business would fall apart without you, then you're still in coordinator mode. You are wearing the hat of coordinator. A facilitator could probably go away for a month and it would hurt the business. It might not be perfectly smooth, but it wouldn't be gone. Coordinator, your business is probably not going to be there when you get back. I mean, that might be saying it a little bit drastically, but you know what I mean. Like, it would be serious bad news if you took a
Mhm.
month off if you're in coordinator. Facilitator, you've got some team members. They would be like, "Where did Jeff go?" Like, we better keep the thing running. I don't know where Jeff went. And then Jeff shows up a month later. The team is like, "Dude, that sucked while you were gone, but we at least held it together. We knew what to do. We have some systems. We have some leadership capabilities. We knew what to do." That's a facilitator. Conductor, you could take a 6 months off and your business is going to be fine when you get back. So that should help us decide where we're at on the spectrum.
Absolutely. And when you are on vacation, what does that actually look like for you? I mean, if you have taken a week off, are you at the place of needing to check your email every morning before you go down to the pool? Or are you in a place of being able to really trust people and just take calls when they come in? Or can you turn your phone off and be out in the woods? I don't like being out in the woods, but yeah, it's not
Yeah.
my preference. I like the pool.
All right, good. So yeah, so this is kind of wrapping up based on time we have left. Um, I think we've done a good job, Jeff, of helping an individual realize where they are on the spectrum. And let's be honest, most people listening to a podcast like this are going to be in that operator, coordinator, facilitator range. If you're a conductor and you have a business that could actually run without you for 6 months and everything will be fine. You're probably, thank you for listening, but you probably don't need us, right? Hey, you want to become an investor? Give us a call. We'll help you there. But most of the people listening to this are going to be operator, coordinator, facilitator, and you probably are at that coordinator stage. So wherever you're at, whether you find yourself in the role, and we just want you to think about it this way. Um, it's not so much about tactics and strategies, tools, systems, processes today. It's putting on that, realizing which persona you occupy right now so that you don't stay there. Because you're probably listening to us because you're feeling a bit stuck. We talked about that last week. Why are you feeling stuck? This is the first step to help you get unstuck, realizing where you're at and where you need to go. So, for example, if you're a coordinator and you've got a house of cards that you're keeping together and nobody's really helping you keep the house of cards together, you've got some help executing stuff, but you're the one like keeping it all together, and you want to become a facilitator where you could probably take a month off and the business would be okay. Uh, Here's a simple, practical, strategic step you can put into your strategic plan sometime in the next 12 months, let's say 6 to 12 months. Start to design with the idea, hey, my big goal, I'm going to take a big, bold action. If you don't take big, bold actions, things will not change. So here's your big, bold action. Put it on your calendar to take a month off and start thinking about, that's what a facilitator could do. I'm not there yet. What do I need to do? What's missing? what do I need to start doing? What do I need to stop doing to be able to make that month off? Plan it 6 months from now or a year from now. What do I need to do now between now and then to get to a place where I could take that month off? And if you do that, if you by the end of that process, I don't know if you'll do it perfectly well or not, but by the end of that process, you'll learn a lot. You might pull it off. And if you do pull it off, congratulations, you just moved from coordinator to facilitator, at least 80-90% of the way there. And if you don't all the way pull it off, you'll have learned so much valuable stuff. And I guarantee you, if you do that, if you take me up on that challenge, you won't be stuck like you feel like you have been for the last, year or whatever it's been. Better yet, Jeff, we tell you this every week almost. We really want to help you. The only reason we're sitting here talking every week, Jeff, is because we care about business owners and we want to help them get freedom. We want to help them become a founder with freedom. That's why we have the TriMetric quiz at TriMetricQuiz.com. Go there, find out where you are on the executive performance metric. You also get the business health and life quality built into it. But once you find out where you are there and what's missing, the executive performance process, which we are continuing to talk about for the next several weeks on this podcast, will help you get there. And then, take the TriMetric quiz and then, book a call with us. We'd love to talk to you about it and help you get through it. Jeff, last word before we wrap up today?
Coordinator to facilitator is potentially my favorite step to see people really take. And we have a client, for instance, a couple weeks ago, we saw the beginning signs that he's realizing that he's getting to that stage. He's getting over the hump. And it was, and he's starting to ask those questions of, okay, there's not really any tasks that are holding me down, bogging me down that I need to, get rid of. And I have time now to be able to take a quarterly retreat by myself to dream about where to take this organization next. And he's asking some of those questions, and the freedom and stress release that he's feeling is so fun to be able to see somebody go through. And what you were talking about having that goal is exactly how I did it. I wanted to start having kids, and my dad came to me and he said, because I said, this organization isn't in the place where I can do that. And he said, can you get it there in 9 months? And I said, well, yeah, of course. He said, then go ahead, do it. And it made me take those steps, and it was life-changing.
Yeah, you do something like that, you take that kind of bold action, and life will change, and you'll never be the same, and your business will never be the same. But I get it. You're probably thinking, gosh, that's scary. I don't know if I could pull it off. That's what we're here for. That's what our executive, our what do we call it? Our fractional executive
unit
is here for, to help you so you don't have to go it alone, because it's lonely. The whole plate, you own it. The whole plate, it's all on your plate. We want to come alongside you and help take some of that stuff off your plate. All right, well, more to come next week. This time we talked about the founder leadership spectrum. Next week, we're going to talk about the 2 leadership engines of executive performance system. And we're going to start to unpack more and more this whole thing we call executive performance each week. But thanks for listening to the TriMetric Roadmap Podcast. And keep coming back, and we'll keep delivering the value.
Thanks for listening to the TriMetric Roadmap powered by Business Freedom Advisors. I've been your host, Scott Landis. If you're growing a business but something still feels off, you're not alone. That's exactly why we created the TriMetric Quiz. It's not a personality test. It's a powerful diagnostic tool that shows you where you're in alignment and where things may be silently slipping off track across your business, life, and leadership. It only takes a few minutes, and the clarity you'll gain is a game changer. Go to TriMetricQuiz.com to take the quiz now before the cost of staying stuck gets any higher. Until next time, stay focused, stay aligned, and keep building a business that truly supports your life.